Alright, so we'll just jump right into this. For the UBC Architecture Undergraduate program, they only accept about 50 people. That's basically half of what other universities accept, so your portfolio must be really outstanding to get in. Now, this is my accepted portfolio into UBC Undergraduate Architecture, and I'll go through everything with you right now. The prompts are generally the same. I do believe this was the same as the year before me. However, it definitely might change. So pay attention to more of the idea concepts and theory instead of exactly like what you should do. Because do not copy me if you copy me, because they've already seen my portfolio. Yours will no longer be unique. The first question or prompt they give you is to make a lantern for your smartphone. And the instructions are here. It says make a lampshade for the flashlight function of your phone. If you do not have a phone with a flashlight, then yada yada yada. Now, of course, this has to be a physical model, so you will need to actually build it yourself. And they do give you instructions, 3-page PDF with what's supposed to go on the first, second, and third page. So, for this first question here, my plan was to create something like this. So, the whole concept here is to have something that was adjustable, that was easy for me to take my phone in and out of, and that looks like a lamp because lampshade was the main prompt. Now mine's called, I'm gonna butcher this so bad, so I'm not even gonna say it, but that is the Google Translate in Swedish for moon's degrees. And definitely down here, I totally did not get caught up in IKEA vibes. Now, the moon's degrees, that comes from the different degrees of position your phone can be in. And that, which we'll see in the next slide later on, is it will depend on the angle to give you a different sort of light. So as I say here, there are 10 different light orientations depending on the preferred light intensity. So this is my cover page. This is the first page. And the second page here, it demonstrates the lamp in action. So we have our 5 different degrees with the phone facing down. So the camera, the light is pointing this way. And this is the light effects you would get. So you can see here we have less light intensity. And when we get to here, we have the highest light intensity. And I marked it out with an arrow here because you don't want the admissions officer to guess what you're doing. You have to tell them what you are doing. And here we have 5 more degrees, except this time the phone is facing the opposite direction. And it gives you much of a more diffuse light compared to the one up top. So you have 2 different types of light you could play with. And again, it's varying light intensity from more dim to more intense. So 5 plus 5 equals a total of 10 possible orientations as stated on the cover. And here we go into more details. So up at the top here and at the bottom perforated place here, we have reflective material. And I mentioned a lower baffle here. Now, the admissions officer isn't gonna start guessing what a baffle is, and you can't expect them to know what it is. So on my next slide, I explained why there are reflective materials here and there. And as you can see here, once I clear the board, so I went with the whole problem and solution type of explaining. And that is because architecture is a part of engineering, and this is the format that they teach you to use from what I've seen in various presentations. So I used that here to make points as clear as possible. And I did label my different points. So problem 1 would be the lampshades are boring and not extremely innovative. So what I did as a solution is created a multifunctional stand to go with the shade, and the shade itself has unique properties explained below. Yada yada yada. Problem 2, the phone flashlight is quite dim. So that is why I added a strip of reflective material to the bottom and top of the shade as to direct and amplify the light. And I also say here that I use light baffling concepts such as ridges and valley folds to uniformly reflect light. And I'll tell them to go back to the previous page. And this is a good trick here. Previous page. because they will flip back to the previous page and they will spend that extra few seconds of time looking at your portfolio, which means the more you keep them intrigued in what you are doing, the higher your chances are of getting a good portfolio mark. Now, problem 3 was the phone flashlight is not in the center of the phone and light distribution won't be equal. Because my stand, if we were to look at it from a front standpoint, I'd say this is the front leg section here. The phone is placed based on this middle line, but the camera itself is on one of the sides. And so I noticed that detail and I wrote it down. I was like, okay, this is definitely something we're gonna have to address. So the solution here would be a slight tilt and careful repositioning of the shade, which I made from a little type of tracing paper, to balance the offset and redirect light diffusion. And to look at this, now here we're not telling them to go to previous page, but this again will make the admissions officer go back to your previous page and take a look at all the different concepts, so they can see the light baffling, they can see the reflective material, they can see how there is a slight twist to the lampshade here. And so they will become even more impressed and also more intrigued in your creation. So I also said here, I talked more about this. This is Shen paper, and what it is it is a type of tracing paper. However, it is also used for Chinese watercolors. And of course, you can't expect them to know what it is. So I explained that this type of paper also has loose fibers, which evenly diffuses the light, so it's perfect for this lampshade. This was determined after I tested multiple materials, which was true because I went through with different types of paper and I found this to work the best. Now here on the left side, we have different images, and I labeled them, so one with a description there to make everything nice and clear. So this lamp was the result of sketching around with circular shapes and angles. As you can see here, this was my whole research with light and different camera angles and camera lenses and how the flashlight works. And then here was the final cleaned up plan for this final draft here. And then I took this template and created the model with it. So as you can see here, with number 2, initially seen as the bottom right, I wanted to create a sort of lens cover for the flashlight as a portable lampshade. So here again. So I had something smaller in mind. However, I worried it might seem as going off track from the prompt, so I resorted back to a more traditional meaning of a lampshade. Now I listed my materials, foam board, and old homework, because this is just really tightly rolled up pieces of my old math homework, and I thought it was fun. Like, I'm reusing things. The whole structure is held up by a small piece of PLA filament from my 3D printer. This is the whole lamp project, and it is organized like so. You can definitely organize yours a different way. However, I just really quickly did this in Google Slides. I took the images with a different phone, and then I photoshopped it, made everything nice, tidied it up, and here we are. So that is the lamp. Now, the next prompt is a self-portrait, and it says to draw a self-portrait. So let me mark this here. Draw a self-portrait that describes yourself from the front and back simultaneously, and they give you definitions for what they mean by the front and from the back. So I'm not going to read this out loud to you. You could pause the video and read. And what you do is you deliver 3 pages. They explain to you here. I do not have the files for my first and second page. However, I do have the third combined self-portrait drawing. It is a little freaky. I'm not going to lie. This is what it was. So my first drawing was my portrait in pencil, really rough pencil, really noticeable lines and hatching to make it look more statuified. Now, I wrote in my prompt that this is because I asked all my friends, like, what was your first impression of me? Like, what type of person did I come off as? And a lot of them said I came out to be like a really cold person and that I looked really unapproachable. So I did that with the pencil and the sketch. And then for the back, quote unquote, back part of me, I did really wild. I just went with colors. I just went with this double eye you see here. I just played around with anything that came to mind randomly. It was a free-for-all. I had time for it. I didn't even think about it. I just picked out random colors from my pencil case and I just started using color. Because once you get to know me, I'm a really fun, colorful, and sometimes really odd person. So this was the combination of it, and it's the two images blended together, mixed together, and I did this in Photoshop. So this was the portrait. So the next part of this is the mini domicile project. And what this is to make a home for a pet of your choice that is inspired by one of the places, buildings, or landscapes that you will cite in your video interview, which we'll get to the end of this video. Be sure to refer to elements and blah, blah, blah. So this is a giant prompt. It ties in with question 4, your video interview. So again, they give you the instruction that is a 3-page PDF, what to put on your first, second, and third page. And this is basically the same format as your lamp project. So here's my mini domicile, and I called it the ideal Chicky City, based on the ideal city of show. You can see it's the exact same format as the lamp. I decided to keep it similar so it is recognizable to the admissions officer that, hey, Alex did this too. Now, I did go above and beyond and said like recommended capacity and this and that. However, you don't have to. Do as you wish. So this is based on personal experiences with raising and caring for chicks, and this is important because now they know you have more information and you do have more knowledge that you can approach this prompt with something a bit different compared to other people perhaps. So on the second page here, I listed out my steps, so my design process. And so I went with first identifying the user, gathering inspiration, identify user needs, plan, create, and imagine beyond. So you can pause the video and read all of this to understand if you want to gain more insight into this project. However, I'm going to move on now. So this one is designed with double wall for temperature regulation. And I did some 3D renders here. So this is the live build with a cereal box. And this is a trace. This is a 3D render. This is a 3D render with wood texture. And then this is a 3D render view from the side to show the outside. Here, this was a 3D render. And what I did was label it as per usual. So different like food trays, the purchase tunnels, your heat hub, which is this circular design that basically it will trap the heat here. It will direct the heat here where the chicks are. And because chicks, you need a lamp, this will be the perfect little heat hub for them. Now, rounded corners for the ease of cleanup when changing bedding. That is another detail. Food and water trays insert into side deco for ease or replacement and or removal. So all of this is in great detail, and then it says the wall height is tall enough for chicks to reach their heads over for a peek without jumping over. This is what gets you over the edge compared to other people. You have to put in details, you have to show that you're taking this really seriously and professionally, and you're going to treat this like you're designing something for a client. Now, this is supposed to go on the third slide. However, I couldn't fit it on the third slide. And you'll see here I said couldn't fit on the third slide, so I put it on the second slide. All right, so moving on to the third slide. This slide is a mumble jumbo of mess, but it gets the idea across. So here are all my planning pages. These are my raw planning pages, actually. So I did have the idea in my head quite solidly, and I was able to just draft it on a marker real quick. So this was the ideas. This was taking inspiration from the ideal city of show. This was analyzing different perches and different ramps and all the things we need. And it shows here in the bottom section here how it correlates to the ideal city of show with the shape and taking inspiration from the saltworks and using that as the food trays instead. I also took the front of the saltworks here and designed it on the model as the deco and also as the holder for the food and water trays. And also, I did a diagram here to show that the heat lamp goes into the heat hub, and then these are again removable for food and water, and I photoshopped in some straw and wood bedding just for that little extra bit of visual impact. So this was the ideal Chicky City. This is the mini domicile. This is your third prompt. Now you do have a fourth prompt, and your fourth prompt is your video essay. So you do need to plan this a lot. They do give you instructions and say you'll be required to submit a video in response to the following question. This was the question for my year. Of course, it will depend each year and it might change. So for each choice, describe in 50 words how they represent your current understanding of design. 90 seconds total. Now, 50 words, that doesn't matter as long as you go 90 seconds total, because they're not going to stop and count your words. They're just going to set a timer on the video. So I talked about the Xi'an Bell Tower. I talked about Centre Pompidou, and I talked about the Idea City of Show. So here's my planning. If you want to take a look, you can pause the video and take a look. However, I did just go into more detail here once I clear this page of marking. I'm going to find a better way to make these videos, but here, this is what we have for now. Anyway, so for the bell tower, I was talking about the different points I need to bring up in the interview, same as Centre Pompidou, and then the ideal city of show. These are the points I referred to off when I was doing my interview, and don't be concerned about remembering things for your interview. Like, right at the start of when they started recording me, I said, okay, I have some points on my screen to help me focus, and I'm going to address these points, because you don't want to try to fake it. And that'll just make it weird, because they don't ban you from looking at a script. So this is what I did, and my video interview went really well. Of course, I got accepted. So this is how I approached the UBC Undergraduate Architecture application for their program for the Vancouver campus. And I hope this video was helpful to you. It is one of my longer videos. However, we did go through 4 different projects, and I try to make it as concise as possible. So if you have any questions, then please comment down below. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time.